For a limited time, get a 7-day all-access pass, which includes all sports, all client releases, and all 5% best bets. Now discounted from $119 to just $99. That comes out to just over $14 a day. Now, this price is good through Sunday at midnight, and you can buy as many discounted 7-day all-access passes that you want until the clock strikes midnight.
Welcome into First Pitch for Friday, May 28th. We're getting you ready tonight's slate, full MLB betting card, WagerTalk.com. We got two of the best in the business here, Bryan Leonard and Dave Koken. A lot of baseball betting knowledge on today's show. First up here, Koken, number one at WagerTalk, MLB last season. Welcome in, Dave. Happy Friday to you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Friday afternoon. Starving already, so we'll do the show, and then it's going to be lobster roll and some chowder. That's my typical Friday. Watch the Cubs game, and then get set for a huge Game 7 tonight in the NHL. I don't have a bet on the game. Bryan Leonard, very nattily attired with the Vegas Golden Knights cap. I don't have a cap, but I will be rooting for the Golden Knights tonight. Strictly a fan in this one. So very excited for that and for the weekend.
Big weekend on the diamond, also in the ice, in the desert. Bryan Leonard, we got, like Dave talked about, maybe some lobster. We got baseball in Wrigley. Interested in your opinion, if you have any in both of those games real quick. So happy Friday to you, Bryan.
Thank you. Yeah, Dave's right. It's a situation where us in Vegas that are fans of the night have a lot of nervousness around town. The last few days. I have a free play up on the site, so I'm going to leave it up there for people to have to go to the site. But yeah, it'll be an interesting game tonight, and we'll see how it goes.
We will see how it goes. Hopefully the Knights can come out here with three guys calling Vegas as their home here. But guys, we'll talk about the night slate here on the Friday MLB card, as big as they get, really. For MLB, so a lot of selections here. We're going after the first game, Dave. We got Milwaukee Brewers and the Washington Nationals in our nation's capital here, 7:05 Eastern, 68 degrees projected as the weather. We're getting Anderson versus Leicester, about a -115 price here for the Nationals, as the Brewers have taken a little money throughout the day. Total of 9. What do you think here? Brewers and Nats in the nation capital tonight, Dave?
Yeah, the Brewers managed to win a game yesterday, mainly thanks to the benevolence of the Padres, who did not play a very good baseball game and still almost won it. And they would have won it had, I don't know what Eric Hosmer was thinking about on a double that went to the wall. He should have scored easily, but he hesitated coming around third base, got thrown out at the plate. That allowed the Brewers to bring in Hader to pitch the 9th inning. He got through that, and then the Padres didn't score in the 10th, and the Brewers managed to walk it off on a hit by, of all people, Jackie Bradley Jr., who's hitting less than I weigh, and I'm not that heavy. So that was a nice win for the Brewers. Their bullpen's going to be a little bit strapped tonight. Brett Anderson's not a guy who goes real deep into games. John Lester, you know, his analytics weren't good in his first couple of starts. His stats were a little misleading, and he has regressed over his last couple of starts. Certainly, he's not in very good form here. But I think the situation does favor the Nationals a little bit with the Brewers coming out of a tough game yesterday. They're still a little bit shorthanded. And the bullpen, I wouldn't think Hader's going to pitch tonight because he's pitched now, I think, 2 days in a row. They don't like using him 3 days in a row. Late innings could be an issue. If this is close late, I think Nationals have an advantage. I'll lean to the Washington side in this one.
Dave, I agree. Guys, I got some good points on today's show about some of the bullpen work today. So I think that can come to kind of our advantage as sports bettors later in the games here. But Williams, Hader, and Sutter, their 3 top arms for Milwaukee, have all pitched back-to-back days. And this is a Milwaukee pen that, you know, when you would just think kind of top line because they have big names here, you'd think one of the better bullpens. I actually have them rated middle of the pack. So I think that the Nationals here have a big advantage in the later innings. And Lester, like Dave talked about, not great, but 11 earned runs in 9 innings. I think that he can bounce back here against the Milwaukee Brewers lineup, top bottom 5 in MLB the last week here, Dave. But before we get to Bryan, did you have a follow-up?
Well, just on the Brewers bullpen, it is kind of middle of the pack overall. But if you take out Hader and Williams, then it's just a bad bullpen. There's no chance Williams is going to pitch because he threw a lot of pitches yesterday. He had to really work. I think he threw 30-something pitches. Hader's worked 2 days in a row. I doubt he's going to pitch tonight. Brett Anderson's not going 9. And if he goes 5, that's 5 or 6 is about what you get out of him. So I do think there's some advantages, certainly in the second half of this game on Washington. That could be a live betting situation.
Absolutely, Dave. I even bet at pregame here. I mean, minus 115. I only bet two games on the card tonight, Bryan, and this is one of them. The Nats minus 115. But what are you liking tonight in DC?
Yeah, something's going right over everybody's heads after all your great analysis. Why aren't we playing the over here? We've got 2 starters that we don't trust. We've got a Milwaukee bullpen that has struggled at times, and their best players probably aren't available tonight. Brad Hand, the closer of Washington, has been terrible as of late. To me, the only way I can look in this game is the over. You take a look at the advanced stats for the pitchers. The only good thing for Brett Anderson is he's got a 6.4 walk rate. The only good thing for John Lester is he's got a 38% hard hit rate. John Lester is not a good pitcher, and his hit rate has been excellent this year. There's some regression coming there. Anderson's one of these guys, you never know what you're going to get. When he's on, he's very good. When he's not on, he gets crushed. I don't trust either one of these pitchers. I don't trust either bullpen. I like this game to go over the total.
Bryan, coming back at you, because one of the reasons that I didn't Sorry about that, guys. One of the reasons that I didn't bet the over here, Bryan, is because the Milwaukee lineup, 29% K rate in the last week. They're kind of swinging and missing a lot in the last week. Plus the fact, just a bottom 5 offense overall the last week. Well, that's the reason that I didn't bet for them to put up a lot of runs.
Yeah, just to mention, I mean, I actually mentioned this on Twitter yesterday. In yesterday's game, the best batting average in the Milwaukee lineup, Yelich didn't play, but he's only hitting in the 240s. The best batting average in their lineup yesterday was Avisail Garcia, who's hitting 240-something. The team batting average for this team is like 210 for the season. Their offense is just brutal. But I do agree with Bryan. I think Lester is very hittable, and they could have a good night tonight. We'll see.
Yeah. And I also, maybe last thing here is I'm not a big guy on team totals because I know not everybody can bet them here. But speaking towards the totals here, Bryan, I would actually point even more so to the Nationals team total to the over. Any last words on this game?
Yeah, when you take a look at the WRC plus on the season, and Milwaukee, Yelich has been in and out of the lineup all year long. They're still a 95 against lefties, and normally that's 5% worse than league average. But as we know, this is a year where the pitchers have performed, differently than they have in the past. At least the batters have performed differently. They're not very good. Washington is at a 112, so they hit lefties pretty well. So you talk about the last week, and you have to take into account how they've done lately. But when you take in the full season, I think it's more reason to play the overs. And you do have it. And Yelich hasn't been good, but at least he's in the lineup, and he's been out of the lineup so much this year. He's a positive being in the lineup, not only if he isn't hitting, but the way the pitchers approach that lineup, they know what he can do at any time. And anytime you've got a guy that has MVP stuff in his history, he's going to make a difference in the batting order, whether he's hitting or not.
Great stuff starting off here, guys. Next game up, we're heading to Houston for the San Diego Padres and the Houston Astros here, Bryan. 8:10 Eastern start. We're getting Lamet versus Valdez. Another minus 115 price tag here as Houston's taking a little money throughout the day. 8.5 the total in Minute Maid. Bryan, interesting to handicap because Lamet, he's been good, but he hasn't gone more than three innings all season long. Kind of tricky handicap in that aspect. What are you thinking here, Pods and Astros tonight?
Yeah, I think the bullpens will be very involved in this game.
Yeah.
Lamet's had 3 starts. His amount of pitches, 29, 30, and 29. That's usually 2 innings. if you're an average major league hitter or major league pitcher. So he's going to be going to the bullpen. He just hasn't been stretched out because of injuries. Framber Valdez coming back, his first start of the season, coming back from injury. I don't expect him to go nearly as far as he normally would be. You take a look at his last 7 starts from last year. 5 times he's went over 100 pitches. He's going to have to build himself up for that. So it's a situation for me that I'm not going to get involved with this one because I don't know how long the starters are going to go. And to look at it as somewhat of a bullpen game, it gives you more things to look at. And to me, I just don't see a lot of value here. So I'm looking to pass on this one.
You know, Dave, doing some research for this game, I found it funny. I think it was the GM for Houston stating, hey, when Valdez can prove he can go 5 innings in AAA West Palm Beach, we'll call him up to be in the starting rotation. Sure enough, I think he goes 2 innings and 3 innings in his 2 minor league starts, and they called him up anyway. So I found that to be funny and not necessarily a bet on for Houston. I'd look towards San Diego here with the better bullpen, but like Bryan, I haven't bet this one. What are you thinking Astros and Pods tonight, Dave?
I would disagree with the better bullpen simply because of usage. The Padres bullpen is a little bit shop worn at this point. Melanson's fine if they have the lead in the 9th inning. He'll close it down. He's been great, but getting there could be a bit of an issue. And the bullpen got used up a bit over the last few days. I don't think there's any way Craig Stammen's going to pitch. He got bombed yesterday, and that might have been a usage situation. I don't think the best of the Pomeranz is unavailable, obviously. He's hurt. So Padres bullpen isn't as strong as it normally is here. And the Houston bullpen's fresh as a daisy. They didn't play yesterday. So they've got everybody available tonight. I think Valdez is ready. I like pitchers first start off the DL, or IL as it's called now. Maybe they get 4 or 5 out of Lamet. I don't know. But in his outings so far, what we've seen is that first inning, whether it's been starting or relieving, his velocity's been really good. And then it drops after that. So I just don't know that they're going to get a lot out of him. I think the situation here favors Houston. San Diego, that was a long game yesterday. I know it only went 10 innings because, the new rule, games usually end pretty quickly. But there were like 1,000 pitches thrown in that game. It went forever. Padres didn't play well in the game. And Houston fresh. I think the Astros are the right side in this game.
I like it, Dave. Love your analysis, man. Fresh as a daisy. And Dave, I can't wait for your analysis on the Diamondbacks, the next game up, because this loss streak, I thought of you just last night, and we're getting the St. Louis Cardinals and the Arizona Diamondbacks in our next game here, guys. Oviedo, the 23-year-old Cuban, going for the Cardinals here. Last time out, only 2 innings, 5 walks. He's kind of all over the place, Dave. And the Arizona Diamondbacks going with Bumgarner here, minus 130 favorites, 9.5 the total. Throw it over to you, Cards and D-backs tonight, Dave.
Well, I can tell you I'm not laying $1.30 with a team that's lost 11 games in a row. That's not going to happen. I mean, the team's desperate for a win, but they just find ways to screw up games. The last 2 games, they should have won both games, but they've managed to screw it up late. I mean, they got the Cardinals on the ropes last night. They got no hit for 6 innings, and then Carlos Martinez runs completely out of gas. They get 3, and then they got the bases loaded with nobody out. They can't get any more. They're just a disaster area right now. So I can't bet them. But they've got the pitching edge here. Oviedo isn't really showing a whole lot. I mean, I said this yesterday. I said the Diamondbacks are probably situationally the right side, but you can't trust them because they've lost 10 in a row. And that turned out to be exactly the case. They blew the game again last night because they had the Cardinals on. They had the Cardinals ready to fall last night, and they managed to screw it up. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I don't want the Cardinals here, and there's no way there's just no chance I'm laying a price, even with Bumgarner, who's been pretty good, with a team that's lost 11 straight. No thanks.
Yeah, Bryan, I mean, to Dave's point, Bumgarner has been good outside of at Colorado last time out. He's really been surprising. Oviedo, a guy that throws, 97, touching 98. I just don't think he knows where it goes, where the ball's going. He has so many walks. But I don't know. I agree with Dave here. I mean, Diamondbacks losing 11 straight. Now you want to lay a price with them? No, thank you. So I haven't bet this one, Bryan. What are you thinking tonight?
Well, Oviedo did have 5 walks his last start, but you go back his last 7, he's never had more than 3. In fact, the game before that against the Mets, of course, it was the Mets. He didn't have any walks. I have learned from watching let's just say the line movement on games over the years. When there's a game in which there's no way anybody would want to bet on, which is Arizona here, team that's lost 11 straight, they're 3-17. If it takes money, it usually wins. And it took a lot of money. It was 110 overnight. Now we're approaching 140. That said, there's no way in hell I can bet Arizona with Bumgarner on the line. And, his last 5 starts against St. Louis over the years. I mean, his last one was 2019, but it was a 41. So he hasn't performed well against St. Louis. St. Louis has a 112 WRC plus on the season versus lefties, although they are missing one of their key outfielders, one of their best hitters, who is now out for an extended period of time. Oviedo's a guy that I've expected more from. I'll be honest with you, but he hasn't performed very well. The numbers say to bet St. Louis. The line movement says to bet Arizona. I'm not coming close to betting either one of these teams. This is, as other people would say, this is one of those situations where I'm going to be Switzerland and sit this one out.
Yeah, another point here, guys, on the bullpens. All the top 3 arms for the Cardinals have pitched back-to-back days. Another thing here pointing towards the Diamondbacks, but I don't know, 11 straight losses, laying a price like Dave talked about. No, thank you. I'll wait. It's like the stock market. You don't want to catch a falling knife. Wait for them to win a game and then catch them on the upswing.
Well,
I'm not a huge
fan. And the
fan.
other thing is this. If you like the Diamondbacks here, you should have bet them last night. Because, look, it was 110. Now it's 135. You're not going to get rich betting sports laying 135 in a game that was minus 110. It's as simple as that. You can like a side, but you got to get in when the number's right. Don't get in when the number's wrong. You're going to lose long term if you do that.
Dave, we got a question in the chat box about Garrett Cole's K prop. Wanting to give some love to the chat box.
I don't do K props. Ask somebody else. I don't even look at them. Look, it's as simple as this. I'm in a business. In my business, I'm selling picks. Okay. I could put these games. I could put a lot of work into these and put the games out, and then half the customers wouldn't be able to bet them. And all you got to do is piss off people with that. So I just don't do stuff that's not widely available. It's a waste of time. All it does is aggravate clients. I even found that out in the KBO last year. It was the only thing going, so I did it anyway. But the first 5 props that I used in KBO weren't widely available last year. They just weren't. And there were some customers who were not happy about it. It's bad enough if I'm not going well. I'm going to piss off customers anyway, and I haven't exactly been lighting it up lately. But I don't want to. There's no chance I'm going to waste time giving out stuff that it just is not widely available. I mean, you can't find these. Bryan, do any of the Nevada sports books have strikeout props? To my knowledge, none of them do. So, and I'm not suggesting that they're not available elsewhere, but I live in Las Vegas and I can't bet it legally myself. So what's the point? So don't ask me questions about that because I don't even look at it.
Hey, no disagreement here, Dave. It's kind of funny, actually, like marketing-wise in sports betting, K-props are getting so much, publicity, and in Nevada, we can't even bet them. So that's a great point in terms of.
And they're also, as far as I know, it's not exactly big limit stuff where they do have it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll touch on this. Dave's correct. And nothing against the guys on our site that do props, but in reality, like I live in Vegas, I can't bet them in Vegas. It's a situation for me where my offshores where I could bet them, I can no longer bet them.
Right.
If you show any propensity to be able to win on these props, they're not going to let you continue to do it. And I don't want to lose any of my offshores because I'm trying to bet $100 on a K prop. Now there's guys out there that do that and they make a good living off of it, well, a decent living off of it, betting $100 a game. I'd rather have a $100 winner than a $500 loser. But for me, Dave's right. You can't give it to a client. We've got guys on the site that do a lot of props. And to be honest with you, my feeling is if a small percentage are able to bet the props, and once you bet it for anything, it's going to move, how can you give those out on a consistent basis? Everybody's got their own thing. If they've got clients that can do it, good for them. I'm very happy for them. But I can't do it, and Dave can't do it. And if we can't get a bet down on it, how the hell do we expect anybody else to be able to do it? So, yes, there is ways to profit off of those things, but once you give it out, over 6 strikeouts minus 110, and you bet it for anything, it's going to 120, and the first guy gets it, it's going to 125, and half of your clients can't get them.
No disagreement here. Dave Koken with a legendary answer there from the chat box. We got Abby saying, Bryan the Truth Leonard. Welcome in, Abby. Bronx from the state of Alaska. Welcome in, state of Alaska, joining us live. Anthony as well, Abel. Always thank you for joining us live here on the chat box. Wager Talk YouTube each and every day, Monday through Friday, 1:45 Eastern time. Come and join us here live in the chat box. And also, guys, if you're watching on replay, feel free to leave a comment below. Maybe a comment about here on the K-props. The K-props and how much publicity they're getting out there, even though a lot of people out there can't even bet them. And like Brian's point, can't bet them for big money. So kind of an interesting topic in sports betting overall. And feel free to leave a comment below on your thoughts on the situation. As we'll move along here to the nightcap, Bryan, we got the San Francisco Giants and the LA Dodgers NL West showdown here. A good one to end the card. Desclafani versus Buehler. We're now seeing Buehler minus 200 favorite, 7.5 being the total in Dodger Stadium. Desclafani getting blown up by this Dodgers lineup last time out. But I'll tell you, Bryan, low total with a huge plus price underdog, it always catches my eye. But what are you thinking here, Dodgers and Giants tonight, Bryan?
Yeah, I can't blame you. I think the line's a little bit too high here. Buehler, if you take a look at his advanced stats, he's down about a mile an hour on all of his pitches from last year, although his results have been pretty good. He's still giving up 8 home runs every 58 innings, basically, so far this year. I've got both these guys on my fantasy team, so I follow them very well. Desclafani was having a tremendous season until the last game. I figured at home against the Dodgers team's been beat up a little bit. I thought he was worthy of a start, although I waffled to start him or not. And he gets crushed, gives up 10 runs in 2.2 innings. His game score was 0. Your average game score is 50. He got crushed by the Dodgers. Now, what do? You go to LA, not a bad pitching stadium. And normally, if a guy just faced him, which he did on the 23rd, his last start was against the Dodgers, I come back and look for the opposite of what happened. He got crushed last time out. I think he comes back and pitches a good game. The line at 7.5 is telling you they expect him to pitch a pretty good game. So it's a situation for me that I somewhat like the under here, and it's hard to play an under when a guy gave up 10 earned runs the last time you faced him in only 2.2 innings. But it's a situation for me that's the way I would look here. It's not a strong selection. The Dodgers are playing better ball, obviously. They're 9-1 their last 10, but San Francisco's still 6-4. They're still playing quality baseball, and you're getting them at a $2 price. I lean with San Francisco in the under here.
And Dave, what are you liking? 2 of the top 3 teams in the NL West in the nightcap tonight?
Yeah, one of the things about the Giants that's been a big part of their success, I know I talked about this yesterday, I'll mention it again, though, because I think it's starting to show. They've got some injury issues, and their depth is being tested. Brandon Belt, who's been very good, is out. Flores is out. Darren Ruff, who is never going to lead the league in average, but he is a power threat. He's out. So their depth chart isn't as strong as it's been, and that's been a real strength for Kapler this year, is being able to play a lot of guys in every game. He gets very situational throughout games and does a lot of pinch hitting. And, I mean, if you look at box scores for San Francisco, they've got more guys playing than just about anybody on a nightly basis. So that's a little bit compromised right now. And the Giants' offense is starting to wane a little bit. their WRC plus the last 7 days, 79. That's down considerably from where it's been most of the year. So they're not exactly in real good form right now. I do agree with Bryan. I think DeSclafani has a bounce back performance here. I think that was an embarrassment last weekend. Cost me money. I had the first 5 under in that game. Talk about getting blown up in a hurry. That was like, oops. Bueller, his command's excellent right now. So I think maybe there's a slight downtick in velocity, but he's putting the ball where he wants to put it. And his last 2 starts have been very effective. So I think he's got a good chance to shut down the Giants tonight. I would agree. Didn't make my card, but I would agree with the under as the preference here for me. I think this will be more of a pitcher's duel than an offensive slugfest.
All right, good stuff on the 4 games for tonight. Guys, we got best bets shortly here, but do want to give some love back to the chat box. We got Camden saying, sorry for holding up the show. But then another comment here saying, thanks for the honest analysis, Dave, about the K props. And no need to say sorry, Camden. We love the questions. Thank you for joining us live.
Yeah, I think I'm glad he asked the question because I think it's something that does warrant discussion. Look, I'd love to see the stuff available out here and available for everybody where they can put, $1,000 bets down or at least nickel bets down. But until that time, I'm just not going to get involved. But I'm glad he asked the question because it rated an explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Abby's saying, Dave, with the honest analysis, very calculated better. Yeah, I second that, Abby. Dave knows his stuff, as does Bryan. So we'll get here into the best bets, guys. And actually, I'll start off, usually go last, but I'll start off because, Bryan, I want to give you a chance to kind of go after me and explain why. Because I remember you saying earlier, I think this week, maybe it was late last week, on that you thought the Marlins might be a buy low, here candidate. And now, hey, I'll give my analysis and then throw it over to you on this game, guys. Best bets, first game up here. I'm on the Miami Marlins plus 144 in the first 5 innings. We get Petit on the hill. He's a young pitcher here, guys. But in his 17 innings, he's been really good. Only 2 walks, 13 strikeouts, 1.06 ERA, 0.71 whip. The thing about it is the Marlins, a healthier lineup than they were in the beginning of the season. Plus the fact, I think it's kind of a buy low opportunity like Bryan talked about earlier. Perez on the hill for the Red Sox, 30-year-old Venezuelan. Decent, but his velocity down 1.5 miles per hour here since the start of the season. So I think he's a fade candidate here. Plus the fact, we get the Marlins at a plus 144 price when they've been a big underdog for the last 2 seasons. They have been a money maker here. So risk 100 to win 144 in the first 5. And the reason I'm not going full game here, guys, one of the more sleeper 8-9 bullpen arms in the game, talking about the Marlins here, Floro and Yimi. I'm not sure on their availability. Yimi Garcia's pitched back-to-back. Floro threw 27 pitches yesterday. That's why I'm keeping it first 5 plus 144 on the Marlins. But Bryan, I'll throw it over to you with the other side of the argument here.
Before we get to that, and I appreciate you doing that, getting back to the props, the ones that are quoted offshore are the ones that are the quickest to ban you. We're not supposed to talk about offshore sports books on any of our shows, but let's be real. People play offshore. Your DraftKings, the big ones are the ones that people play out and they quote those numbers. But everybody I know that has an account on those sports books, they've been banned already. They're quick to knock out winners. And if you want to have that account in your state, you can't afford to win off the props or you're losing out. Now here in Vegas, we got plenty of outs. But if you're in these regulated states, you're going to be forced to play offshore again. And I just don't understand it. They get the best of the world by getting the guys that don't know what they're doing in there, and yet they're still willing to ban them if they win on props. So it's another discussion, and I hate to take time on the show, but I think it was important. Getting back to this game, you're right. I did talk about value being on Miami. Miami's getting their best outfielder back, but they got Cody Petit going today. And granted, he's been terrific thus far, but he's played the Mets offense. He's played Arizona, who has lost 17 out of 20 games. And he played Philadelphia, who's not really playing very well right now. Cody Petit is not one of the guys. If you're looking at guys coming out of this Miami organization, they've got some really good pitchers in the minors. Cody Petit, bringing him up is sort of like nothing against Wall in Tampa Bay, but he's not going to be there long. They've got better players in the minor leagues. They're just keeping them down for the contract situation. So you're buying Cody Petit right now. If you talked about stock market earlier, you buy low, sell high. Well, Cody Petit is as high as he's ever going to be with a 1.06 ERA, 2-0 record. He is not that good. I think the teams that he has played has made him look better, and nobody even knew about him because they probably weren't even on the radar of these other teams when they played him. Martin Perez, there's not many times in life I'm going to be outwardly looking to play on Martin Perez, but is a play against Cody Petit for me, and I'll take this Boston team in a full game because they're the better hitting team. Go the full 7 or go the full 9 innings. I think the line's a little bit cheap with Boston. It'll be interesting. I hope you win the first half and I win the second half, and I end up with the winner on Boston. That'd be great for me. But to me, it's a fade of Petit.
I was just going to say that there's a small chance we can both win this game with the Marlins leading after 5. But Dave, have at it, buddy. Finish us off with best bets, man.
Yeah, just a quick note on that game. They do get Marte back tonight, which is big. But now Rojas got hurt and Anderson's hurt. So their left side of their infield is on the injured list. Yeah. That's not good for a team that just can't afford to lose position players. I'm going to go to the Yankees-Tigers game. No strikeout prop for me, but I do have a bet on the game. Listen, Casey Mize is starting to figure it out. He has had a great month of May. He's had 5 straight really good starts. His ERA in that time span is, I keep on forgetting the number. It's 1.73. His analytics aren't quite as good, but they're still good. And Garrett Cole should be able to dominate this Tigers lineup. I don't put a lot into these pitcher versus hitter numbers because it's really kind of small sample over a long period of time. But I still look at them, and the Tigers players are a collective 10 for 77 against Garrett Cole. So he might have a good night here. Weather could be a bit of an issue. I don't know if this game's going to get played. There might be delays. That worries me. But first 5 with Mize in really good form, Cole likely to dominate, and neither offense actually producing that well tonight. I think Stanton might be back for the Yankees tonight, but still the Yankees offense over the last week, not that good. Detroit's offense is never that good. First 5 innings under 3.5 minus 115 is a play for me. It's my free play today. It is a selection. And it'll be my best bet here on the show.
All right. I like it, Dave. Way to come around full circle and hit that Garrett Cole prop even a little bit more. But before the recap here, Brian, any last thoughts?
Yeah, David talked about the Detroit pitcher coming around. The Detroit, all of their pitchers are coming around. They're all pitching much better. Skubal's numbers have been really good this month, and he's been the weakness of that. Right now, if you're looking to play the Tigers, and Dave talked about the offense, I think we're seeing value on playing these games under. Now that they've got Fulmer as the closer, they've got a situation where the starters they're all highly acclaimed starters, all the young guys. They're starting to pitch better. The hitters are still not hitting. I think you could probably make some money. Go back and take a look at the next 10 games for the Tigers on betting unders. I bet you end up with more winners than losers.
Like it, Brian. Former first pick overall, Casey Mize starting to find it. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. The recap for best bets, we'll get it for you here with I'm on the Marlins, first 5 plus 144. Dave Koken, Yankees, Tigers, first 5 under 3.5. And Brian Leonard laying the juice here on the Sox full game. So for Brian Leonard, Dave Koken, I am Drew Martin. Guys, if you like the content, please smash the like button on your way out. We will be back on Monday. Same time, same place, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Make sure to check out Dave and Brian, WagerTalk.com, top plays up, and have a fun, safe weekend. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
What's better than $2 Tuesday at Sports Memo? How about Freebie Friday? We can't go any lower than free, and each and every Friday we'll hand select a best bet from one of the hottest handicappers on the site and give it out for free. All you have to do is each and every Friday, head over to sportsmemo.com. The Freebie Friday will be listed on the homepage, and you'll be just a click away from a free bet.